All right. Good morning. The time is now 9 a.m., and I would like to call this Board of Public Works meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025. Maria is helping us out this morning. Maria, can you take the roll, please?
Sure. Andy Jones,
Present.
Rose Rivera,
Present.
Carlos Arce,
Present.
Ron Davis.
Present.
All the members are present in the council chambers, and we have absent to Mike Macklin. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any amendments to the agenda? I believe I would entertain a motion to include under new business and point 7 a professional service agreement with Butzell attorneys and counselors.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion for the amended, to amend the agenda has been approved. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. So moved.
Got a motion by
Second.
Ron, second by Rose. All those in favor of the amended agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Agenda passes as amended. Claims and allowance.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the claims and allowance docket in the amount of $6,235,502.37 as listed on the register, consisting of 27 pages, printed on January 28, 2025 at 10:28 a.m.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Ms. Coons.
Good morning, Erin Coons, Deputy Controller. We have two to Selge for CSO 39 sewer separation project, one totaling $136,531.62, and then another totaling $768,110.71. And then our total American Rescue Plan claims are $577,011.66.
Board, any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the claims and allowance docket in the amount of $6,235,502.37 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 21st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion or corrections, additions to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the regular meeting minutes for January the 21st, 2025 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Administration Engineering.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve change order number 1 for bid number 24-18 Hively Avenue Overpass Demolition Contract number 5, decreasing the contract value by $31,152, resulting in a contract price of $155,585.46.
Second.
Got a motion, a second.
Second.
Jeff, good news.
Yeah, good news. Jeff Schaefer, Assistant City Engineer. This contract, if you recall, was for the former KFC and the former Hunter's Place. The good news is we'd included an allowance for asbestos. We did not find asbestos in those buildings. However, we did find an old fuel oil tank under Hunter's. So fortunately, this change order allows us to move that money around to remove the fuel oil tank. The contractor took care of everything related to IDEM and that sort of thing, so all the proper permits have been issued, notifications have been made, and the site was clean. The tank itself was not leaking or anything, it just was there. But you still have to go through a process to remove it. So we'll be removing that tank, and there's no asbestos-containing material, and this will be squared away, and we'll save some cash.
Great. So ACM, is in referencing the memo, refers to the asbestos.
Asbestos-containing
removal.
materials.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
perfect.
Yep.
Question, what kind of fuel oil? Heating fuel, or was it a filling station or something?
No, heating fuel. I think it was for the building.
Okay.
And there was no evidence it had been in use for years. So just happened to be there. I'm sure Mrs. Hunter might have known about it. I think her father actually started that restaurant, so she might have not even known. So no harm, no foul. We were able to take care of it. Not a big deal.
Great, great. Yeah, I didn't, when I had seen the tank above ground, I wondered if it had anything to do with how they were storing their oil related to the restaurant business, not really understanding how the grease interceptors and all that work. I thought, well, was that the case? But it makes more sense that it was an abandoned fuel oil of some sort. Perfect. Any other questions, board? All right, all those in favor of approving change order number 1 for bid number 2418, demolition contract number 5, reducing the contract value by $31,152, resulting in a contract price of $155,585.46, signified by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the Board Vice President to execute Amendment Number 1 to the Professional Services Agreement with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley, Inc. for Hively Avenue Overpass Project FRA grant application and grant management with an amended fee not to exceed $46,000.
Motion?
Second.
And a second.
As you are all probably aware, the city has received a grant from the Federal Railroad Administration to help pay for the construction of the Hively project, and that's been good news. Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley, or CMT, was the consultant who assisted us with securing that grant. They have 2 other FRA grants that they had already secured for projects in Hammond and Cherville. So when this grant process cycle came up, we discussed with NDOT, and they strongly suggested let's bring CMT on board because they are already working with FRA. This is simply a continuation of that. Their original agreement was $21,000 to assist with the grant writing. This is an additional $25,000 to assist with preparing the grant agreement. Just to give you some perspective, some of these projects, the grant agreements can take up to a year to get done with FRA. We think we're in a lot better shape than that because our environmental document's already done and we're shovel ready. So we think this is going to move pretty quickly. The project manager with FRA, who Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley's already been working with on Cherville and Hammond, will be our project manager as well. So we've got a nice established relationship. And so we feel this is the best way to get this grant agreement across the finish line.
Great. Do they have any concerns with the recent pausing in multiple federal programs and the legal battles that this is going to be unnecessarily delayed or potentially revoked?
It's thus far what we've heard from NDOT and FRA is we are full speed ahead.
Perfect. That's what I was
And
hoping. but-
So until we hear differently, we are full speed
All right.
ahead.
Great.
In fact, there is the official grant kickoff meeting for the grant recipients is next Tuesday, and that has not been rescheduled or canceled or anything else. So we believe it's full speed ahead.
Board, any other questions? All right. All those in favor of the amended agreement with Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley for a new fee not to exceed $46,000, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve change order number 1 for bid number 24-19 Hively Avenue Overpass Demolition Contract number 6 decreasing the contract value by $20,000, resulting in a contract price of $63,225.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Jeff, same thing as Hunter's?
Yeah, same thing as demo contract number 5. Demo contract number 6 was the building on the east side of the tracks at the corner of Hammond and Hively.
And no other issues like we did with, like we found with Hunter's, right?
Didn't find anything.
Great. Perfect. Always like to see these things coming back in our direction, especially with this project. All those in favor of approving change order number 1 for bid number 2419, the Highway Overpass Demolition Project number 6, decreasing the contract value by $20,000, resulting in a contract price of $63,225, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the plat, right-of-way dedication, and easement dedication for Lindum Lane subdivision.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Yeah, this is a 2-lot minor subdivision to split the property. There are 2 businesses on the south side of Bristol Street between Cassopolis and Johnson that were under the same ownership. The property was under the same ownership. They were leased to different businesses. The property owner desires to sell one of the buildings and retain the other one, hence this subdivision. We worked with the consultant on a number of easements and other matters to kind of split this property. The water and sewer services crossed from one side to the other, so we want to make sure all those were handled, so it did take a little bit of time. I do need to say, and I think the consultant's online, and she's probably going to stare darts at me, I neglected to actually bring the physical plat with me, so those of you who are city staff are going to see someone showing up at your office in the next day or so to get the plat signed, and Mr. Davis will, I'll reach out to you to get your signature on it. So I apologize to the consultant on that, but if you can go ahead and take action on it today, then we will work over the next day or so to track you all down and get signatures.
Jeff, for my own growth, I guess, is there a simple way, and if there's not, I understand, to maybe we can talk offline on that, to help me understand the difference between a minor and a major subdivision?
Sure. The very simple way is, first of all, if it creates more than 3 lots, it's a major subdivision. The other thing, and our rules are a little bit different, every jurisdiction is a little bit different. The other thing is if it creates right-of-way that's new right-of-way like a city street, it's also a major subdivision. If it dedicates a parent right-of-way like this one does, it's a minor subdivision. So that's usually the nuance. The biggest thing is whether it creates more than 3 lots. If it's more than 3 lots, it's automatically a major subdivision. If it's less than 3 lots, it's a minor, and then there are some nuance there with the creation of public right-of-way.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation. And this will go to the plat committee after this, and then they.
The plat committee has actually already approved it.
Okay, perfect. Great. Any other questions, board? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the plat and right-of-way dedication and easement dedication for Lindholm Lane subdivision signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Chair, I move that we authorize the board vice president to execute the escrow agreement with Almac Inc. and Lake City Bank for Elkhart East Area A public improvements.
Motion
Second.
and a second.
If you recall, board, we bid this project for Elkhart East Area A. This project is being paid for by the developer, and then the developer is going to be seeking reimbursement from the County Redevelopment Commission, not from the City Redevelopment Commission. And so that's what the reason it went through our public bidding process. We looked at a number of different options then how to actually fund the project. One of the options would have been for the developer to deposit a check with the controller's office, then you would have appropriated those funds. We thought there were some issues there, and honestly, the developer didn't necessarily want to tie up their cash sitting in our accounts. So the second thing we discussed with the developer is what if we set up an escrow account? Ms. Marnoka worked on that extensively. She had multiple conversations with State Board of Accounts, making sure this was all kosher. There's an email in your packet from State Board of Accounts. They mix up a little bit contractor and developer in the language, but they've given us the go-ahead on this. So this document's been reviewed by Ms. Marnoka. It's been reviewed by the financial institution and reviewed by the developer. And basically what it states is the project will proceed the way any of our projects do. We'll receive a pay application from the contractor, we'll sign off on it, and then we'll forward it to the escrow agent, who will then cut the check to the contractor. And so we will do a minor amendment in our contract language with the low bidder, who happens to be C&E Excavating, just to reflect that, make sure they're fully aware of the process. So this is the solution. We've come up to kind of a unique project that we think makes the most sense for the city as well as for the developer.
Will we own the assets after they're complete? Will that end up being our property in essence?
Yes, sir. There'll be public improvements. This is all being done in what will be public right-of-way.
Okay. I guess my only point, I guess, thought on this would be including the controller's office on the front end of these components. I think whenever we're dealing with the Board of Accounts, that there can be other issues that your staff wouldn't necessarily be prepared to or aware that we need to ask questions on. And some of those questions that we'll need to follow up on is there an expectation that this falls on our books, which I would assume that we're going to then need to establish the escrow account, have the claims be ran through some part. And, I see that Maggie was shaking her head no, but I didn't note that that was excluded from the email exchange with the Board of Accounts.
It's my understanding that the contractor is setting up the escrow account. Isn't that the developer?
Right,
Yes.
but I think I would infer that with the Board of Accounts being concerned about whether or not it had ran through the public bidding component, and that this is, I think, really no different than the other escrow-related construction projects that we've worked, and especially since we will own the assets afterward, that there's likely additional internal steps that we'll need to take. And we can work through just to get confirmation. I'll be happy if that's not the case, but I just want to affirm with the Board of Accounts, given the $3 million amount, I think is what it was, or 2.5 essentially, that there aren't any concerns about how it's being ran through, or if there's a requirement for it to run through our books. And the claims process very similar to the ratification of an SRF payment out.
That was not how it was presented to State Board of Accounts. In fact, I had multiple discussions on the phone, and then and they checked with their attorney twice, and then I asked that they send us a confirmation in writing. And how I presented it was it wouldn't go through our finances at all. That it was, and I anticipated that at the end of the project, just to cover our bases, we'd have a dedication document,
Sure.
Dedicating it, even though it's being built in the public right-of-way. But there was never an indication that we needed to put it through our...
Or they may have just assumed that we were naturally going to follow that process too,
No.
perhaps. I guess it's hard since I wasn't, or a member of my team was not part of that conversation to clarify, and we'll follow up with them directly and make sure that we're all on the same page with it. But that'd be my only point going forward. Board, any other questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing the board vice president to execute the escrow agreement with Almac Inc. in Lake City Bank for the Elkhart East Area A public improvements, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we award bid number 24-22, Elkhart East Area A Public Improvements, to C&E Excavating, who submitted the lowest responsive bid with a contract price in the amount of $2,483,600, subject to the full execution of the escrow agreement approved by the board.
And second.
Got a motion and a second?
So obviously, based on your previous action, but until we receive the signed document back from the developer and the escrow agent from the bank, we will not send out a contract to C&E. So that's simply what we've added to this action.
Great. All right, makes sense. It's good work. I'm excited for it. Board, any questions? All right, all those in favor of awarding bid number 2422 regarding the Elkhart East Area A public improvements to C&E Excavating, who submitted the lowest responsive bid with a contract price in the amount of $2,483,600, subject to the full execution of the escrow agreement approved by the board, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Jeff, are we removing this revocable?
We would like you to remove this from the table.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to remove the revocable right-of-way permit for perpendicular parking on Alma Street at Lindy Gas and Equipment at 1820 Mishawaka Street from the table.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of removing it from the table signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, approved
So
to
just
off the table.
Just a brief summary from what we discussed 2 weeks ago. This was historically been some perpendicular parking in the right-of-way, where about half the cars would be in the right-of-way, half the cars would be on private property. It had been in gravel for a number of years, but then there was work done both to replace the driveway approach and to pave this parking without a permit. That created some concerns for us. We reached out to the property owner last year, who has been very helpful working with us. The contractor has attempted to remedy some situations, and we're still working with the property owner. The property owner's representative is here today. Would like to just kind of give you a very brief update. I don't know if we'll yet be prepared to take action. As you recall, the property owner's legal staff was still reviewing our documents, but at the same time, we wanted to give the board a brief update. So with that, I will defer to the property owner.
I think before we do that, we should probably have a motion
I
to.
apologize.
No, you're fine, Jeff.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the revocable right-of-way permit for perpendicular parking in Alma Street at Lind Gas and Equipment, subject to the conditions suggested by the staff and the board memorandum.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, perfect. Great, thank you for joining us. Some direction, I guess, from us is if you haven't signed in already, go ahead and sign in, and then if you can just state your name for the record, that'll help with our minutes, and speak directly into the mic so that everybody out in the internet can hear you.
My name is Mark McLaughlin. I am the branch manager for Lindy Gas and Equipment at 1820 Alma Street, or Mishawaka Street in Elkhart.
Did you say Martin?
Mark, M-A-R-K, yeah.
Great, thanks.
So we're just working with the city, Mr. Schaefer, to become compliant and do what we need to do. We just need some clarifications on where this line is and what our options are as far as getting back with the contractor and so on and so forth. We intend to become fully compliant with the city.
Perfect. I don't know that I have any questions. I thank you for wanting to work with our staff. Hopefully, you're feeling that that's a good working relationship. I know we tend to have a good working relationship with most people, and thank you for all that you're trying to do here.
No problem at all. The only problem we are having is with the city of Elkhart's email system, which I don't know if you guys are aware of, but neither here nor there.
Yeah, and I guess if Jeff can forward those concerns on, or if needed.
Okay,
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up.
okay.
All right, board, any question for Mark? No, I think we're good then.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All those in favor of approving the revocable permit as stated in the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the amended standard form of agreement for professional services with Xylem View, Inc. for additional CSO monitoring services.
Great. Motion and a second. Maggie, you playing the role of stormwater manager this morning?
I am.
Thank you for being flexible.
Among other things, you got it. Yes, this, Joe Foy asked me to speak on this. We negotiated a contract with Xylem because the current software is being retired, and the company that we have was, Mnet was, I think, bought out by Xylem. And so we had to amend the agreement for a whole bunch of reasons, but the new software is going to migrate all the existing data, and then it's going to offer additional services and really be an upgrade for us. Joe had budgeted, has it budgeted, and like I said, we negotiated the contract. They sent us what they wanted, and Joe and I worked with their legal counsel and them.
Okay,
And
great. And we're obviously, since you're asking for action, we were comfortable with the, what appears to be a large increase in the contract price, but not knowing the total cost of the contract. At least I didn't look at the in depth as to what the total cost was, as to how much of an increase that ended up being.
it should be an increase of $123,400.
I mean, from a percentage type increase over.
The current one is between 150 and 170.
Okay, so almost doubling.
Yeah.
But we're getting
Like
additional.
40%, yes.
Additional services that we think are going to be in the best interest of everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
Yes.
Perfect. Any questions, board? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the amended standard form of agreement for professional services with Xylem View Incorporated for additional CSO monitoring services signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the professional services agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering, LLC, for MS4 program assistance in 2025 for a total not to exceed amount of $40,000.
Second.
Motion and second. Ms. Marnoka?
Yes, we have been contracting with Christopher Burke for some time now, and so this is really more like a renewal, but we have a whole new contract. Same terms, they're going to continue to do the quarterly pollution prevention and good housekeeping inspections, revise the illicit discharge detection and elimination plan, and work on the standard operating procedures for the for the illicit discharge plan.
Great. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the professional service agreement with Christopher B. Burke Engineering for a total not to exceed amount of $40,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify partial payment request SRF number 50 of SRF loan WW221620005 in the amount of $73,300 to DLZ from the allocated SRF loan for professional services on the Oakland Avenue Project D CSO 6 and 7 connection design.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Jason?
Yeah, this is a standard payment for their monthly bill that they're doing. We have monthly meetings. We're happy with their progress, and it's
Great. And when do we anticipate, because D is yet to be bid, correct? Because we're just
Correct.
in the design phase.
Yes.
Will that go to bid next year?
it's this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in 2025, it'll be in this year.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm thinking next year is the spring, for me right now. So, perfect. And will this require when we go to bid, will that require additional funding through SRF?
Yes.
Or
Yes,
okay.
this will be another SRF loan.
Okay. Great. All right. Any questions, board?
I'd just like to note that the agenda did say it was payment 46. I picked up the typo in the subject line of the memo at the top.
Got it.
And
So
so
it should be 50.
it is actually payment 50, and that
Okay.
was on me.
Okay. Noted. Do we need, yeah. All right. All those in favor of ratifying partial payment request number 50 of the SRF loan for WW221620005 in the amount of $73,300 to DLZ, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify partial payment request SRF number 51 of SRF loan WW221620005 in the amount of $30,155 to American Structure Point from the allocated SRF loan for professional services on the Oakland Avenue Project C Harrison Street design.
A motion,
Second.
and a second.
It's the same thing,
Same thing.
progress, and same timeline, actually, as Project D, so.
Okay,
it's-
great. Will C&D be done together?
don't
Maybe?
know.
Don't know?
It's
TBD?
It's up in the air right
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Any other questions, board? All right. All those in favor of ratifying partial payment request number 51 from the SRF loan WW221620005 in the amount of $30,155 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify partial payment request SRF number 77 from SRF loan WW182620004 in the amount of $449,113 to Bowen Engineering Corporation from the allocated SRF loan for construction on the Elkhart wastewater treatment project, capacity upgrades phase 2 project.
A motion,
Second.
second.
Yeah, so after much negotiation with Bowen, we're ready to start paying some of the old pay apps that they've put out for us. We've negotiated to pay the 77, 78, and 79, as shown on here. 79, we're going to actually have to have tabled because it will actually bring us above the contract amount. So we have to do a change order before we can do that.
Got it.
And the plan is to just have it be done as the final change order, because this is not the final amount of payment. And then after the final change order is done, we'll come back and actually ratify the payment number 79.
Perfect. And Jason, just to confirm, you and I had talked before the meeting that these payments that we're agreeing to are for services or in goods only and don't include any late payment or interest that they would have originally included as the bill, that we were able to negotiate those rightfully out.
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, board, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of ratifying partial payment request number 77 from SRF Loan WW182620004 in the amount of $449,113 to Bowen Engineering Corporation signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify partial payment request SRF number 78 from SRF Loan WW182620004 in the amount of $126,427 to Bowen Engineering Corporation from the allocated SRF loan for construction on the Elkhart WWTP Capacity Upgrades Phase 2 project.
Got a motion?
Second.
Same thing, you already addressed it all. Any questions though, board? Just did something pop in your head? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of ratifying partial payment request number 78 from the SRF loan WW182620004 in the amount of $126,427 to Bowen Engineering Corporation signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose, same sign. Motion passes. All right.
Mr. Chair, I move that we table partial payment request number SRF number 79. Do I need to read the whole?
No, I think that's fine. Motion to table.
Second.
In a second. All those in favor of tabling partial payment request number 79 to Bowen Engineering Corporation signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. It's tabled and it's anticipated to be read at the next board meeting. Correct? All right.
Hopefully.
Mr. Chair, I move that we declare the old unusable water meters as surplus materials and approve the auctioning of the water meters for salvage value.
Second.
A motion, second?
I would, I'd like to give the board an explanation and then ask that you amend the motion. When I sent the original memo, I came to work sick last Thursday morning and ended up going home. But the thing that I did was drafted the original memo to have it sold as surplus. I come back on Friday morning and start second guessing myself. I'm like, wait, this is worth more than $5,000. It needs to be auctioned after an advertisement. And I come in yesterday morning, heard from the board vice president, and it was like, yep, I had already had the memo approved, sent it on. This morning I realized, no. This is for recycling purposes.
Okay.
These are brass. They were saved, quite frankly, for recycling purposes. So we are able to sell or transfer them outright for recycling under Indiana Code 522.22.7. So I would ask the board to amend the motion declaring the old unusable water meters to be surplus and salvageable, and allow the utility to sell them without advertisement pursuant to 522.22.7.
Question.
Yes.
So there's, these can't be used again. They have no use to anybody that only
Correct.
recycle. They can't be repurposed because they're
No.
obsolete.
They are obsolete.
Okay.
But they are made of brass. You know, I mean, that's the main component. And so there you have it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Maggie. That's great news. When I reached out, I was, really just wanting to make sure that we had that kind of
Right.
buttoned up. And this is, I think it helps to streamline and for the right reasons, remove the bureaucracy that comes along with disposal of things that the general public wouldn't probably have an interest in wanting to bid.
Right. And it encourages municipalities to recycle.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
Yeah.
To if you're recycling something.
In certain cases, depending on the amount, it could just end up in the trash, in the landfill,
Right.
because of the wrangling that comes along with needing to do the right things. And so I'm glad that we're able to get this all out of Public Works and to the right spot, and it'll find a future home in another pipe somewhere probably. So, all right, I'll entertain an amended motion declaring the old unusable water meters as surplus and approve the Board of Work, approve the disposal for recycling purposes, authorizing the Public Works staff to sell these pursuant to 522.22.7. Is that sufficient?
Perfect.
All right, perfect.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion, board? All right, hearing none. I think we need to approve the amended motion first. All those in favor of the amended motion as stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All those in favor of the amended motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion passes. Thanks, Maggie. Appreciate the clarification.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept and place on file the wastewater utility monthly report of operations for the month of December 2024.
Got a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any questions? It looks like we had no violations. Just a couple of wet weather overflows, which are pretty standard. All those in favor of accepting and placing on file the wastewater utility monthly report of operations for the month of December 2024 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we issue Welch Packaging permit number 2017-01, its 5-year industrial wastewater discharge permit renewal.
Second.
Motion in the second.
Morning, Board. Steve Brown, Public Works. What we have here is a standard 5-year permit renewal for Welch Packaging. This facility, they do corrugated, they have a graphics design department and a corrugating facility using rolled paper and domestic starch. And some of their wastewater is consistent with caustic and water to produce corrugated sheets. So these two permits have been somewhat challenging because of the correspondence back and forth with Welch, but here lately, Welch Packaging has been more responsive. Thus, we can finalize these permits.
Great. So, but other than some internal struggles with communication, your memo states that they've been very generally cooperative and a compliant facility when it comes to their application of the rules associated with their permits. And is it to be presumed that any of the recent changes that the board has approved regarding the permit language if this was, if they were impacted, that this permit includes that updated language and
That is correct.
clarification? Okay,
That is
perfect.
correct.
Perfect. All right. Board, any other questions? All right, all those in favor of issuing Welch Packaging permit number 2017-01, it's 5-year industrial wastewater discharge permit renewal, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we issue Welch Packaging Permit number 96-04. It's 5-year industrial wastewater discharge permit renewal.
Second?
Motion, a second. Steve, same thing, different location or similar?
Yeah, different location. It's a standard 5-year permit renewal. This facility, they use water-based ink at this facility. So 2 separate permits, same deal, standard 5-year permit renewal.
And since it's at different locations, that's why we're having 2 separate permits, or is it more complicated than that?
No, that's pretty straightforward. It's 2 locations. It's always been 2 separate permits. We were entertaining the thought to combine them and make it one, but we just decided to move forward, so.
Makes sense. Perfect. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of renewing Welch Packaging permit number 9605 and issuing its 5-year industrial wastewater discharge permit, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the master services agreement with Enfocus in the amount of $122,500 paid through the Development Services and Planning and Zoning Professional Service budgets.
A motion and a second. Anyone here from Public Works online, perhaps? Yeah, from Development Services. Sorry. I saw the 2 on the memo and not otherwise. All right. I don't see anybody from Public Works. Maggie, did you work on this at all with them?
I had worked on 2, and so yes, I
Okay.
would say yes.
Okay.
And I at one point got them confused, but yeah, Mike and I had Mike had come to me about
Okay,
it.
all right, perfect. I know that each department is unique in how they prepare these memos, and some of them say, hey, we worked internally with our legal team, and I know with Development Services and the relationship with the Redevelopment Commission and utilization of Warwick and Boyne, that in some cases,
Right.
things can maybe get a little bit more gray for ease of comment. I guess my only question regarding this would be, I noticed in the language in, I think it was Article 9.04 regarding the suspension and debarment, and it only states that it is regarding state department or agency, and I didn't notice a federal component because it says for consultant will not contract, wait, where's it at? Consultant certifies by signing this agreement that neither it nor its principals are presently debarred, suspended, proposed for debarment, declared ineligible, or voluntary excluded from participation in this transaction by any state department or agency. And
Might I suggest that the board approve it contingent on legal?
Sure.
Reviewing it one last
Okay.
time.
All right. Yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
Like I said, there was some confusion as to which contract was going, so
Yeah,
I
it-
would prefer it that way
that's-
before
that-
I commit to it.
Sure, and I'll share my, not my concern, but the reason that I brought it up is that it's my,
It has to say federal.
well, only if we're going to be using federal grant funds.
Right.
And I wanted to clarify with Mike on whether or not this was, like, had a member of his team been here, I would have inquired if this was going to be paid for utilizing grant funding, which we would then want the, and need the federal language. If this was just his regular operating budget out of the general fund, then I don't believe it's as important, but,
It's not mandatory.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, I will be able to check on that.
okay, perfect, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to include that we amend it pending legal.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second on the amended motion. All those in favor of the amended motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All those in favor of the motion as amended,
So moved.
Second.
signify
Sorry,
by
aye.
saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
Yeah, you let me down the,
All right.
path.
Council on Aging.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve the proposed lease with the Council on Aging.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Rose, you had worked with the Council on Aging on this, and this is standard language, just a renewal with the terms of renewal changing. No-
Yeah, so previously, they had a lease, I think, that went to 2029. They didn't renew that lease. So the new negotiated lease is renewable up to December 31st, 2026.
Okay, perfect. And this gives us, does the Council on Aging also have the 180 days if they decide that they want to leave? Do we require 180 days notice from them?
I believe they have to let us know with I don't know if it's 120 days that they want to renew, something like that.
Okay, cool. All right, Gordon, any other questions? All right, all those in favor of approving the proposed lease with the Council on Aging signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the disposal of the following assets: a 2014 Ford 250 ST313, BG548, AB2220, BG539, and an F15-19 to be auctioned with Bright Star.
Second.
Motion and second. All right, Josh. So these are assets that'll be going to auction that we no longer need. They're surpass their useful life.
Morning, Board. It's Josh Holt from the Central Garage. Yes, that is correct. These are old pieces of equipment. Other equipment is basically beyond its mechanical abilities and cost effectiveness to keep. There are 2 trucks on there that are diesels, and they, especially they're both mechanically totaled because it'll cost us more to fix them than it will be that they're worth, so.
I guess my only question would be, or I guess more of a request that we're meeting the auction requirements, but if we have advertising requirements that we should have Bright Star work through, or otherwise that we work internally to make sure that we're compliant on that. I think by coming to the board and requesting that authorization, that we're good, and that the assumption would be that we would follow the necessary steps
Yeah,
going
the auction
forward.
that these will go are at the end of February, And they advertise, actually technically worldwide, they advertise. It's pretty big.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, board? All right, all those in favor of sending the listed pieces of equipment that are, have been deemed having surpassed their useful life and permitting the auction by Bright Star Auctions in Middlebury, Indiana, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve and issue bid packets for 2025 police vehicle procurement, bid number 25-09.
Second.
A motion and a second. Going, Josh. We doing?
Oh, this is just our annual police car bid. I think they're getting, if I remember right, it's 15 this year. Yeah, specs are there and all of the equipment and everything. Excuse me.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
I was going
Andy.
to say, these are all SUVs now? They go into,
Yes.
yeah, they don't
Yeah.
do this squad
Yeah.
car.
Automakers, at least the, Ford, GM, and Chevy, and Dodge, they have pretty much eliminated all sedans from their lineup. The Taurus is gone, which was a great car, but they no longer make that. The
What kind of-
Impalas are gone.
What kind of a power plant these have in them?
So our police cars basically, this year's specs will include 3 different engines. Our pursuit vehicles are the EcoBoost engines. The CID or the detective cars, they're just a base, just a regular V6. And the 3 civilian style, because they wanted, like, I don't know what they use them for, honestly. But they're the 4-cylinder ones, so it's kind of a across the board this year.
How many horsepower?
As far as what?
The horsepower.
The turbo ones, or the
Yeah.
EcoBoost ones? I think they're 400 right now, yeah.
Okay.
And the standard V6, I think it's like 220, 230.
Thought that'd be good to know when I'm out driving my Challenger.
Yeah, you're probably not going to outrun one of our pursuit ones. So, not that you would. I'm not inferring that you.
Hey, so far, I mean,
I guess my question is, in looking at your itemized proposal, the CID type units seems to be very vague. Is that vague for a purpose, or because like we're police Explorer Interceptors as item 1, item 2 is the CID type units, and I guess if I'm wanting to bid on that, do I have complete kind of, is it up to me to determine what that CID type unit, or is that something that is generally understood by someone that is bidding in this package?
So the CID is just the name that we have given that specific group. It's not vague intentionally. They're just basically a stripped down police car. They still have they come standard with the police brakes and the police engines and that kind of stuff. But as far as options go, there's just not a lot options that we put on those.
Sure. Yeah, I guess my only concern would be, would someone, a dealer that is wanting to bid on this, be bidding apples to apples with other
They would,
bidders?
yes. Okay. Yeah, because they would follow the specs that I wrote, and then that's what they would quote us.
Board, any other questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the request, the bids and specifications, and authorizing bidding for bid number 25-09, the 2025 police vehicles, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve and issue bid packet for the 2025 light duty truck bid RFP bid number 25-10, using funding through the capital lines of the Buildings and Grounds, Central Garage, and Public Works Departments.
Got a motion, a second. All right, Josh.
Excuse me. So in talking to the controller's office this year, we decided to take all of the pickup trucks for the city, because usually different departments order trucks, and I try to usually lump each department together, but this year we decided to put them all citywide into one bid. We might get a better price, I don't know, because we usually get pretty good pricing from the dealers anyway, but just makes things a little bit more cleaner and
I appreciate you doing that, because I think from my perspective, it is clear that we're following the rules, and although we haven't been purposefully chopping up these to avoid the thresholds where bidding or quoting comes into play, I think this just helps to, one, be cleaner on the record, and two, hopefully makes your life a lot easier to only do it once, only come to us once. I guess my only question would be, what are we considering a light truck as part of the bid package?
So technically, I guess government standards, anything is considered light duty up until a 350, like a 3500.
So are we including that we are looking to buy 2 F-250 extended cabs, 2 F-250 regular cabs, that kind of thing? And the only reason I'm asking is the specs weren't included in the packet that I had seen. Okay, I just didn't see it, which is why I was inquiring. All right, perfect. Yep. Okay. Great. Sure. All right. Perfect. Board, any questions? All right. All those in favor of approving the request to bid number 2510 and approving its specs signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the purchase of DB500 mobile system on a trailer from Dustless Blasting Company in the amount of $52,111.98 from the Building and Grounds budget, utilizing the special purchasing method for sole source.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second.
So Buildings and Grounds, for as long as I've been here, has had a mobile sandblasting unit to remove graffiti and that kind of stuff from public places. It's a very old system, and it's also a system that has been, I don't want to say cobbled together, but I can't really think of a better word. It's a lot of pieces and parts from different manufacturers, and a lot of it's even outdated, and we can't even get parts for it anymore. This year, well, technically last year for the council budget, we decided that we were going to go with a different system, and this is a complete self-contained unit that's mounted on a trailer. It's really an amazing system. It doesn't have our system now, when they remove graffiti off of a wall, let's say over at Oakland or something, it makes dust everywhere. Sand goes everywhere. Whereas this system utilizes like a water spray almost, and it doesn't get that dust everywhere. So that's the dustless blasting. It's a really unique system. And I think it's a really good buy, and it'll really help us. The other thing, too, that I really like about this system is it's not mounted on a truck. So right now, we have a truck that this whole thing is bolted to, and that truck is only use is that. So 90% of the time of the year, that truck just sits and rots. Whereas this is mounted on a trailer. They can use any truck in their fleet to just grab it, take it out, use it, put it back in a barn or something. So it doesn't take the use of another truck.
It adds some versatility to
That is correct.
the way that they get this done, which is great, because then we don't have to worry about, like you said, having a complete vehicle tied up or utilizing we can use them the way that we should be.
Right.
Or a better use of them anyways. So, great.
What, question? So Josh, this unit, it's gonna work better than the old ones, so it contains its own water, so it's got a reservoir for water, sand, and then also those plastic pellets or whatever it was?
So this one is able to use baking soda, it's able to use sand, I believe it's even able to use walnut shells. They can use a myriad of different blasting material.
So it has the capability to be connected to a continuous water source too, so if it runs
It does.
Okay. Reason I'm asking is because, we tried to remove markings, paint from the north ramp, concrete surface at the airport, and it just, with the old unit, and it was just, took a long time, and
the
it
old
didn't
unit
really work.
clogs, and
and
it's a mess.
That stuff needs to come off still. So I'm wondering if this might make mincemeat out of that, I'm hoping. We can,
That should.
we'll test it. Bring it out and test it. Thanks.
No problem.
Yeah. Any other questions, board? All right, all those in favor of approving the purchase of the DB 500 mobile system on a trailer using the sole source special purchasing method, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Public participation. Now is the time that we. Oh, that's right. Thanks. Gosh, we have the amended item.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board authorize Corporation Counsel to enter into an agreement with Butzel Attorneys and Counselors for Professional Services, and that we delegate our signature authority to Corporation Counsel to sign this agreement on our behalf.
Motion.
Second.
And the second. Ms. Marnoka?
Yes. Corporation Counsel, as you know, hires all of the legal staff. If any of the departments hire legal staff, it has to be approved by Corporation Counsel. Well, in this particular case, Corporation Counsel sought outside counsel with specialized knowledge, negotiated an amazing hourly rate. Since I'm coming from the public sector, I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, it all has to do with the estates of Adolph and Emily Tiedemann and the Lexington Business Center. So I know that Mr. Esper is looking forward to working with this law firm.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, me and Corporation Counsel had talked about the first round of rates, and while $350 an hour is still steep, it is very much a bargain compared to what we may have been looking at otherwise at closer to $1,000, if I recall. And so, for the purposes, I guess, from the board's better understanding, there's not a not to exceed because we do not have any idea as to what the time and effort is going to be regarding the case, and we'll work with the Corporation Counsel to make sure that their budget is adequately able to cover it. So.
Thank you.
Yep. So all those in favor of approving the motion as stated, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Public participation. Now's the time in our meeting where we allow public participation. If you're in the general audience, you can come to the board and come to the podium. If you're online and would like to participate, we need you to be seen and heard. And we'll give you a moment to be able to raise your hand or indicate otherwise within the system. All right. Well, it appears that nobody wants to participate. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor, second by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.